Hello and welcome. Thank you for spending some time with us today as we discuss today's CRM for oil and gas user group topic, utilizing the correct reports. My name is Jean Degner, and I am the account manager for all of our CRM for oil and gas customers at LedgeView Partners, a business and technology consulting company where we focus on transforming business one relationship at a time through our sales, customer service, marketing, and CRM consulting services. In today's CRM for Oil and Gas User Group webinar, Steve Rybrock will guide you through utilizing the correct reports in CRM for Oil and Gas to help you manage and grow your business, as well as provide you some updates on future enhancements and answer some user-submitted questions. If that all sounds good to you, well, then you're in the right place at the right time and on the right webinar. We do have a lot to cover today, but before I introduce our presenter, I have a couple of quick housekeeping items to cover. First, I want to mention that today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand after the live session. All attendees will receive a follow-up email with a link to access the presentation on demand. We do encourage you to share this with others in your organization and your network. To be sure you have no trouble receiving this email, please add ledgeviewpartners.com to your Safe Senders list. To ensure the best audio quality, we do have everyone on listen-only mode, but if you have a question, please submit those in the question pane of the GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll be sure to follow up with you afterwards. Now, let me introduce our presenter for today. Steve Rybrock is a CRM product consultant and managing consultant with LedgeView Partners and knows how lubricant and fuel marketers use CRM better than anyone I've met. Steve manages all of our CRM for oil and gas implementations and gets to know each and every lubricant and fuel marketer very, very well. Through his years of experience, he's also the expert on how oil and gas distributors can gain the most efficiency and sales productivity through technology like CRM. And today, Steve is going to show you how that's done. Steve, thank you for joining us today. I'll let you take it over from here.
Okay, thank you, Jean. And if anybody is getting a little static on the line, I noticed that when Jean was talking, I was checking out GoToMeeting earlier and noticed that. Hopefully it's not too bad. If this turns into a static nightmare, we might just have to do this one again, but hopefully we will get through this. So we have tons of stuff to cover. So I am going to be in super speed mode, but hopefully you're in super learning mode. So a quick agenda. We are going to talk about the reports that are available to you in CRM. I'm not going to be able to cover every single one, but I am going to cover probably 80% of them. There are some that are just, I think in my mind, maybe just a teeny bit outdated. Other reports might be better than some of those that we've had around for a while. So I'm not going to cover every one, but I'm going to cover enough of them where hopefully by the time we're done, you'll have a good enough understanding of what the reports are for you to be able to decide which ones are important and of value to you. We've heard this loud and clear from folks who are signing up for these webinars that, you know, understanding reports and knowing what reports to run was an issue, and so hopefully we're going to be able to address that here today. You can get reports from CRM from the reports module. So in the workplace area, there's reports, and then also in the workplace area, there's dashboards, and dashboard 97 is another way to get reports. So I'm going to cover both of those ways to generate reports, and again, talk about those reports that are available to you. I also want to point out some, sorry, phone here is going crazy. I also want to point out a few resources that I'm actually going to use some of these today. So there's some videos out there in the workplace area. Video 90 and 97 are going to cover kind of some of what I'm going to cover today, but really more like how to run the reports. I'm going to spend just a second or two or a minute or two on how to run the reports. I'm really concerned about making sure you know what reports you can get today. What I'm going to use quite a bit today is these documents that we have available right in CRM, in the workplace area, in the document section. There's a document 90 and 97 that explain how to run reports and then show you and explain every report, which is kind of the question that we're going to try to answer today. So I'm just going to go through that document and explain some of the reports and maybe because it'll be more, interactive, if you will, us having a discussion here, it'll be a little bit easier to understand those documents. So this is the bulk of today. I'm hopefully going to be done with this in about 30 minutes. But then I have a few other things that I always like to cover on these user group webinars. I want to get everybody up to speed on what we're working on. So what our enhancements are on our roadmap and where we're at with some things, some cool stuff coming. Also, I want to make an announcement about some CRM training via email for new users. So we're going to just touch on that for a minute. We'll cover any submitted questions, which was kind of interesting, this one, that there were no submitted questions, which I was kind of pleased to see that. That kind of tells me that as folks have questions, they're reaching out to the power user in their organization, or they're reaching out to our support desk and they're getting their questions answered. So I thought that was kind of good to see. And then I'm going to give you a summary of the biggest challenges that have been reported when folks registered for this webinar. So let's get started. Catch my breath. All right, important slide here. What I tried to do is kind of group the reports for you to think, okay, what might I want to analyze over here in the first column? What reports in that reports module might I run to help me analyze certain things? And what reports might I be able to run within Dashboard 97 to analyze, let's say, accounts or my sales team or products? So this is just kind of a general perspective, because I want to make sure we understand that just because I say, hey, to analyze accounts, you can run, let's say, Report 110, you can also run Report 110 to analyze a lot more than accounts. That report lists your accounts, but when you run these reports, you are in control of the data you want the report to use. So you could run this report 110, which is a list of accounts with information on it, for a certain industry, for a certain product segment, for a certain department. So yes, it's going to give you a list of accounts, but within that, really, what do you care about? Maybe I care about how my construction companies are doing, right? So don't think of it as, okay, this is just to analyze all my accounts, right? It's a lot more than that. So this is just kind of at a high level, but with many of these reports, you can do so much more. You'll see some of these that I have in red. Our system has evolved quite a bit. So as an example, there's a report in the reports module, that's Report 140, and we'll talk about that one when we get to it. But, and there was a couple other reports that we've retired, but we made another report within Dashboard 97 that does almost the same thing, but it's much more flexible. So you'll find that I made those notes that these were kind of the original reports that we created, and then a few years ago we developed this Dashboard 97, which gave us all kinds of flexibility. So I usually start with Dashboard 97 when I think about a report, but there are still a lot of different and valuable reports within the reports module. Okay. I'm not going to read this slide to you. You kind of get the gist, and we're going to go through just about every single one of these. And I think I kind of just mentioned that on this slide here, that you'll notice one report can be used for many things, and it's all because of these filter options and these group bys, which sometimes the fact that we did it that way is kind of nice because we only have, 30 some reports in the system. But sometimes that's hard then because you don't know exactly which report to use. We could have created, 1,000 reports, one for each specific thing, but then we have all that extra overhead and you don't have that flexibility. So I think once you find out the 3 or 4 or 5 reports that just kind of, work for you, you can probably just continue to run those 3 or 4 reports to get the answers that you need. All right. So having said that, I am going to now jump over to a CRM. So let me just flip over here, see if I can get CRM fired up here. Where did you go? CRM. All right. Come on, CRM. Oh, that's not it. Oh, here we go. Buried behind my GoToMeeting. Okay, so I'm in CRM. What I want to do is go into the workplace area, but I want to go into reports. And I'm just going to start out by running one report, and then I'm going to spend the rest of the time for this section going through that document that explains all these reports. Because I don't want to make you watch me run every single one of these reports to talk about it. So that document is really going to help us today. So I'm going to run report 110, and that's all you do is go into reports, and then you just click on it. So report 110 is an account order history totals report. Well, the name kind of gives you an idea of what it is, right? It's going to list my accounts and give me some totals for each of those accounts or those customers. So here's the screen I was talking about earlier. This filter screen can be a little intimidating, but it's very powerful. So I would say the biggest trick to learning this isn't so much the tool itself, but really understanding your data, knowing that your accounts are assigned to industries or to owners, knowing that your order history file, your transactions have dates on them, have departments assigned to them, have product categories, product segments assigned to them. So now, if I know that, now I can pick the data that I care about. So in the case of accounts, if I hover over this little word select, I get this little option where I can hit this little drop-down list. And these are all of the attributes or fields that are in the account file. And so you're not going to use hardly any of these, but you'll probably use things like owner, or in my example before, maybe industry. So I could just click industry, and then I'm just basically making a rule here. And the rule can be where the industry equals, does not equal, these are all the options. So I could say where the industry equals and come over here and pick the answer I want. And I could pick, I want to analyze my automotive accounts, or I could click a couple and I hit OK. And so I'm just kind of building the rules, take all the data in CRM and narrow it down to just, this data that I want. So that was just an example. If you don't like a rule, I can just click this little arrow here and just say delete it. I don't want that rule. Order date. We default this report to just show you orders for this fiscal year. Well, if you don't like that, maybe I want to go back to, let's say, December 1st of last year. I can just change the rule. So I just hover over this, and I can say where that date is on or after. And I can just type, 12/1/17. And again, here's where I would, if I wanted more rules over the order history, I could hit this little select here. And I have all these options, things like department. I talked about product category, product segment. So if you understand all the data that's in the system, those are probably the key ones that people filter on. Because maybe I just want to see how my lubricant business is doing. So I could say where the department equals. And I could come in here and could just do a little search for anything that starts with L, and there's lubricants, and I just pick it. There you go. So then you're all done with that. You just hit run report. And now it's going to take a look at all the data in CRM, narrow it down to what you care about. And let me just refresh this screen here, getting some funny headings there. Okay, so I just jumped to page 2. So not to get too crazy about the report here, but it's all it is a list of customers or accounts, right? We call them accounts, address information, industry information, who the salesperson is, and then I'm going to go to page 1 where my headings are. I shouldn't have scrolled down so quickly. So I have things like how much gross profit, how much revenue, how much volume, and what was my profit per unit for all the data for this account, for the time period that I picked, and for lubricants. So this is a great way to just get some, if you care about numbers by account, if you just care about some totals, boom, there's some nice totals for the lubricants department since December 1st, 2017. So I know how much gross profit, revenue, and volume came in. And I obviously then I know that by account. So think of all the possibilities just this one report could do for you. I'm analyzing a department. I'm analyzing a product category. I'm analyzing a salesman. If you do care about the individual accounts, great. You've got the detail here. All right. So now we know where the reports are. We know how the filters work. We know how to run reports. But really the topic of the day is, how do I know what reports are out there and what's important to me? So I'm just going to close out of this and hopefully be able to find my Word document. So this document is right in CRM. If you go into the document and workplace documents, and it's just this document 90, and it explains a lot of things that I just talked about the filter screen. So it shows you a screenshot here. And then we just go through and we talk about every single report. So report 100 is an account ranking report. I'm not going to read this to you, but basically it's almost like report 110, except this ranks your customers highest to lowest, best to worst, based on volume, gross profit, or revenue. And again, you control the filters. So you can want to rank your customers, maybe just your construction companies, or maybe you want to rank your customers based on your lubricant department, or just whatever. I mean, you have all those possibilities. And then here's what that report looks like. This example just happens to be the account ranking report. I'll try to make this a little bit bigger. Probably hard to read. It's a list of customers showing me, I rank this by gross profit. So my customer with the highest gross profit down to my least gross profit. And then we just have what percentage each customer contributed to the total. So obviously that's going to go down as well. We have a running total here. So, some customers want to run this report and they want to see, let's say, their top 80%. So that's what this column is. When you get to 80%, you can stop reading. All right, so I'm going to pick up the pace here a little bit because we have a lot of reports to cover, but we know how to run the reports. We know the filters. So now it's really, what are all these reports? So here's a ranking report. There's another report that is basically the exact same report. It's called 100B. It's a ranking report, but we have a lot of customers who have their ship to accounts as separate accounts in CRM. So this is a great way to rank your customers from highest to lowest, but it combines the parent with all of the ship to accounts and then just ranks basically the parent accounts. So it's a way to holistically look at your customers, not each location. So again, it's basically the same looking report, but you're not going to see ship tos on here. You're just going to see all the parents sorted best to worst. All right, here's report 110. We talked about that one already. So just a nice report, lists a lot of information about each account. So we talked about that one already. I'm going to skip some of those that I don't think really apply much, or there's better ways to do it. So we tried doing some things with actually charts by running reports, but a lot of the charts that we have on dashboards are, I think, a lot better than these reports. So I'm just kind of skipping them. Here's report 140. If you care about analyzing your accounts, seeing if things are getting better or worse, this is a great example. This is a rolling 12-month variance report. So a list of accounts showing me the most recent 12 months, the prior 12 months, and then did it go up or down? Again, with all of them filters. So you control what you want to do a variance on. I want to point out, this is one of those that I showed on that earlier slide that I had in red, because this only lets you run it for 12 months versus 12 months, the most recent versus the prior. You can get a little creative with the filtering, but it's very confusing. So what we did is we created a report in Dashboard 97 where you get to pick the 2 time periods you want to compare. So a lot more flexibility than just the most recent 12 months versus the prior 12 months. Right? Maybe it's 6 months into the year and you just want to see the first 6 months of last year, the first 6 months of this year. How are we doing? Right? Report 115 on Dashboard 97 can do that. All right. This one I'm going to skip again. I don't think it's rather exciting here. So I'm going to get to this one here. Report 170 is kind of a nice report. It shows you sales by owner, salesperson, and product segment. So really like this report. A lot of people like this report. Just a nice summary. Again, you pick the time period. So you have all that filtering, but just a nice summary of how each salesperson is doing as far as product segments go. Having said that, what we did is we built report 170 in Dashboard 97 that lets you control the grouping. So yes, you can group it by salesperson and product segment like this one, but maybe you want it by salesperson and department, right? We let you do that within Dashboard 97 report 170. So you'll see that when we get to that. So this is just another example where I think we just made it even better. All right, moving along. We retired a couple of reports. I'm just scrolling along in this document here. Report 200 is the next one I want to touch on. This one is really nice to help you analyze your products. And remember, you control the filter. So you could run this report and you could say, I only care about one customer, right? And it will show you a 13-month trending report, if you will, listing all the products that customer bought and how much they bought each of the last 13 months. And actually, you pick the last month, and it just does the 13 months prior to that. And then there's a nice total at the end, and then there's actually a total on the bottom of the report, which I just printed the first page here. So now just think of this. You could actually run this report for your complete organization, right? You could see how much we sell of everything across the company. You could say, you could filter on a certain salesman. How much does a salesperson sell of every single product by month? How much do we sell to this industry? How much do we sell from the lubricants department? So again, you control the filters, but here you're analyzing products, right? How our product, and you can run this report for volume, revenue, or gross profit. I would say most people analyze it by volume. This is a really cool report. I like this report. All right. The next two reports, 205 and 206, we kind of combined on Dashboard 97, but this is another variance report. But this is more than at the account level. This is down to the account product level. So it's going to give you a pretty long report, right? But it's going to show you all your customers, again, based on your filters, a list of products, and what they bought in the current time period, the prior time period, and then a variance. And it shows you volume, gross profit, and revenue. So this happens to be a year-to-date comparison. 206 is a rolling 12-month comparison. But in Dashboard 97, you just pick the two time periods you want. All right. 210. A great report to help you maybe look for some potential opportunities, some share of wallet opportunities. Here's where you're getting a list of accounts based on your filters, but a couple of the required fields are we definitely need a range of dates, and we need you to enter 2 product segments. And the purpose of this report is just to line up those 2 product segments against each other for every account that fits in your filter. And the purpose of this is if your thought is, hey, customers who usually buy antifreeze usually buy from our industrial segment. So line them 2 up next to each other. And if I see a customer who's buying, let's say, a lot of antifreeze or coolant, and they're not buying any industrial oil from me, if that's a good relationship, right, then there might be a potential share of wallet opportunity there for you. So if things are slow, pick a couple product segments, run this report. Just a great way to help grow your business. So I really like report 210. 220 gets a little bit detailed here. We only have a couple clients, I think, using this, but if you really want to see, let's say, the billing that went out on Monday, all the orders that got billed for Monday, and you want to make sure the price and the cost and the gross profit, everything's accurate, this actually lists every single order, the detail lines so basically every transaction for the time period you pick. So this could be rather lengthy. But if you want the details, a nice report, we'll give you that. All right, kind of moving on to pipeline stuff. There is a report here we tried doing with a chart, but most of our opportunities, we have about 56 charts right on dashboards, so this report isn't that useful much anymore. But if you want to analyze your win or your close rates, we have a couple different ways you do that, because in this industry, it seems like everybody does it a couple different ways. So you can analyze your close rates based on date closed. So basically only include opportunities that were closed between a range of dates. And then depending on how you want to group and how you filter, it basically just gives you a list of how many you won versus how many were closed. So then what was your win rate? And there's some other details on here, but let's look at Steve here. So Steve closed 4 opportunities in that time period, and he won 3 of them. So his win rate is 75%. This is the report. This is kind of the way I'm wired, but other companies fired back and said, hey, we actually calculate win rate and look at this a little bit differently. We look at opportunities that were opened, let's say, in a given time period. So that's what 301B is. It's doing a close rate calculation, but basically this one will look at, I'll just use well, I'll just use industrial here. So I made this one by industry. So we had 2 opportunities that were opened. One of them is still open, and we won one. So in this calculation, we won 50% of those that we created in that time period. So you probably want to look back far enough to make sure you don't have a ton of them still open, or I guess it just depends on how you analyze it. But not a big fan of this one, but a lot of companies do analyze close rates this way. All right. If you want to analyze your sales stages and how long opportunities are in each sales stage, that's what this report is. So you can analyze your team. You get to pick how you want the data group, but it's basically just looking at how many opportunities got to stage 1 and how many days were they in stage 1. And then the same with stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. You really have to have a really clean pipeline to be able to do a lot of this stuff, right? So if you're still struggling with making sure your pipeline's accurate, you're probably not ready for some of these reports. But once you get there, these reports can really help out. Last one, kind of on opportunities, report 303. This is a report that shows you basically just all the information about every opportunity that's open. So we have a few clients who use this maybe to communicate to their suppliers. So you could run this report for all of a certain brand and get a list of all the opportunities where you're pushing a certain brand. And if your supplier needed to know what was in your pipeline, right, you could just email them this. All right, I am way behind here. I am going to have to just totally crazy speed this thing up. I'm jumping along to some shorter reports, but some powerful ones. If you want to analyze your share of wallet potential, this is just analyzing or grouping your competitor share of wallet information that you've gathered to show you what's out there that you could go after. 330 is kind of nice. This one isn't as valuable if you're using our gap to goal feature now, but this was created long before that, and it lets you compare what your share of wallet and new business goals are compared to what's in your pipeline. So just a great way to tell if this is in my pipeline and here's my goal, you know, where am I going to make my goal or not? Well, our gap to goal analysis does a lot of this for you. So maybe not 330 unless unless you're not using the gap to goal feature. 340, just overall analyzing a salesperson's goal versus actual. So we have some dashboards that do this, but here's a report where you can pick a time period, and it will analyze, look at their goal, look at the actual, and let you know how they're doing, you know, gross profit and volume, and just show you a variance. And then finally, if you want to see if your business is getting better or getting worse, this one's actually analyzing salespeople. So you pick 2 time periods, current and prior, and then it just summarizes all the data based on your filters, again, showing you a couple time periods. So another one to help analyze your sales team. All right, moving on to a couple of what am I going to call these? Analyzing usage. So I'm scrolling up to report 500. If you just want to see just what people are doing in CRM, not just looking at stuff, but actually creating stuff, you can pick a time period, and this will list each user and show you how many leads they've opened, closed, and created. Same thing with opportunities, quotes, accounts, and contacts. So pretty simple, just gives you a count. Some folks use it for the first month or 2 when they're using CRM, and then they don't use it much anymore. If you're an activity-driven organization, report 510 looks very similar to the other report, but the numbers you're seeing on here aren't the number of leads. It's actually the number of activities that were opened and closed against leads, against opportunities, against quotes, accounts, and contacts. So are people entering activities, right, and closing activities within CRM? All right, a couple other nice reports to make sure you get your CRM all cleaned up is if you care to have a list of accounts that don't have any contacts. Wouldn't it be nice to have a contact for every account? Well, this report shows you those that don't have any contact. And for those of you who have your parent account and your ship-tos, there's a version 520B that looks at the parent and all the ship-tos, and if none of those have a contact, they'll show up on the report. So I'd say more people are probably using 520B. All right, the last one, 530. This is probably a stretch goal, but this is an awesome report. If you want a list of any account that either don't have an open activity or an open opportunity that could potentially be an account that's fallen through the cracks, right? So if you really get into this CRM to help manage your communications and contacts with your customers, every one of them should have either an open opportunity, something, or an activity, something you're going to maybe do in the future, reach out to them, or if you're working an opportunity with them right now, right, you're obviously having a dialogue with them. So I'm really excited about Report 530. And again, for those with ship to accounts, we have a version 530B that looks holistically at the account and all the ship tos and looks for at least one open activity or open opportunity. Oh my gosh. I am going at the speed of light here. The next section shouldn't take too much time because we've covered just about all the reports already. But I've got to flip back to CRM here. Hopefully I'm able to do that quickly. And I'm going to go into the workplace section, and now I'm going to go into dashboards. I apologize for going over. There's just a lot of reports. And I'm going to go into this dashboard 97 I keep talking about. So within dashboard 97, it gives you some options to run some reports. And these are my choices. So I'm going to run that same report I ran before, that report 110. And you'll notice the screen looks a whole lot different. It makes it a little bit easier to filter on things. So I've got to put in a range of dates. So I'm just going to put in 1/1/18 through 11/30/18. And all of these filters are basically left alone unless I check something. So if I only want to, let's say, look at Chris's accounts, if I check it, now I'm narrowing down the list to just Chris's. If I don't check any in a certain section, I'm going to get all of them. So I'm just going to scroll down. This is what I could filter on the account record. And if I scroll down, here's all the data that you could filter on in your order history. We talked about department, maybe product category, product segment. And when you're all done filling that in, you just hit request report. It gathers all that information and sends it off somewhere. And now you can continue using CRM and you get an email. So one other report I just want to show you real quick is that report 170 I talked about a couple times. So report 170 is that sales summary. And here's where you get to group the data yourself. So instead of doing it by, let's say that one report was owner and product segment, maybe I want it by owner and department, and within department, product segment. Right? Then I go to run the report based on my filters, and I'm going to get a nice summary report. I could do this by, let's say, department, product category, product segment. I just want to see how my departments are doing. So you fill these in, you do all your filtering, you go to request report. So that's why this one report could do so much for you. Just this one report, very short, concise. So those are the two reports. I'm just going to quick show you how in the world they look. So let's start with report 110 here. So here's 110. This report got emailed to me. It shows me my filters. It's just that same list of customers. And then it's showing me information about each customer along with their gross profit, revenue, and volume. But I've got it in Excel, ready to go. How about report 170? How did that one look? Here's 170. So I ran this report for the first few months, or the first 11 months of 2018, and I wanted to group it by department, product category, and product segment. So this is just my test data, but if I scroll down to maybe my lubricants department, this might make more sense. So how's my lubricant department doing? Within that, how are each product category doing? And then within that, how are each product segment doing? So a really nice report. All right, just to wrap up, I'm going to flip over and just show you that document that describes this. It's just the document for dashboard 97. Where are you? Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. All right, so this document is available to you. It kind of describes what I showed you about how to do the filtering, how to run the report. But then it goes through and touches each report. And I'm not going to go through every single one of these because some of these are the exact same thing as what's in the reports module. So what are a couple that are different? We touched on that report 115 a little bit. So 115 was kind of nice because it's that account period comparison report, but you pick the two periods that you want to compare. and it just gives you a nice report that compares the current period to the prior period, a variance, and a variance percentage. We touched on that 170 already, so I don't have to cover that one. I'll just kind of jump down to a couple that really aren't on the reports menu. Like report 360 is kind of nice. This is an existing business growth report. So what is that? What this report does is it's a pretty small report. You pick how you want it grouped. So we got that grouping feature. This one I just grouped by salesperson. But what it does is you pick 2 time periods, and the prior period is all sales basically are included here. I'm sorry, that's the prior period. And then in the current period, what we do is we only look at the customers and the product segments that you sold to in the prior period to show you the current period. So basically that's kind of what the report is. Take my existing business. Who was I selling what to, let's say last year, and of that, am I selling more to them, less to them? What's going on with just my current customer base and the product segments they were buying. So again, depending on the questions that come up, the business decisions you're going through, this report might help you. And again, you have all those filters. All right, and then the last one I'll cover within Dashboard 97. Not too many people probably need this, but a few folks use this. If you set goals and you struggle with setting goals for new business and share a wallet business, this does all kinds of calculations looking at what happened last year, what might be left for new and share a wallet business from what started this year to help give you a starting point on some goals you might want to set for next year. Okay. Holy cow. I'm going to flip back to PowerPoint if I can find that and continue on. All right. So hopefully, and I know we had to go fast, but hopefully that gives you a really good idea of the reports that are available and how to run them. And now you can figure out which ones are kind of exciting for you. What's coming up? Mobile. So excited about this. So we're going to have at least 1 customer, possibly 2, testing this in December. And depending on how that all goes and all the adjustments we have to make, we're going to get everything fixed and then schedule a rollout to each customer in 2019. So mobile's coming. Probably used mostly on phones, but a few folks might use it on a tablet. You do need to be connected to the internet. So that's why I'm thinking if you have a tablet, you probably just want to go into the web version. Just log in through the internet then and use it. You probably don't want to use the app on a tablet, but you can. And then this is going to replace our iPad app, which a few of you are still using. So that's going to be retired, and then everybody will have access to this mobile app. So super exciting. I've been playing with this over the last few months, testing it, tweaking it a little bit here and there with our technical team, and we are so close. Another thing that we're working on kind of behind the scenes, you folks don't notice this, but periodically Microsoft deprecates or basically says this coding process we don't support anymore. So we just make sure CRM stays running. So we always have to make sure we're up to speed on the code that we're using. And then we've got some feedback on some of the report changes we made recently with adding this profit per unit. So we're adding that value to a lot more reports. We're going to create some trending reports, and we have a few other things, a few other reports that we're going to include middle of next year. Okay. One thing I mentioned on the agenda is we've got this thing we're doing that hopefully will help new users at least a little bit to drive adoption, but we called it CRM training via email. So what is it? It's basically if we get a new user, if you ask us to add a new user, we put them on this little process where each week for 2 weeks, they get 3 emails. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And each email describes a feature or 2 of CRM and then points them to a couple videos they might want to watch. So just to help drive them to CRM and hopefully help them learn. So this is for new users. This is for anybody who needs a refresher, any manager who maybe just wants to see what these emails look like. One of the things we're going to do at the end of today is when you log out of the GoToMeeting, there's going to be a survey. And one of the questions on there, obviously any new topics you want us to cover, but do you want us to add you to this little email training process that we've got going on? So just let us know. All right, I mentioned this earlier, nobody submitted any questions, so I don't have to do anything there. Biggest challenges that were submitted. So ownership and adoption keeps coming up. We did a whole webinar on this back in July, but we're still hearing about it. So we're going to do more on this. We're creating more documentation to help with user adoption, some techniques that we see that are successful to make sure you're aware of them. So this topic is not going away on our end, so you'll probably be hearing more from us on user adoption. Training, man, more people just said they don't know how to do this, they don't know how to do that, they're new, they need to be trained. So what options do you have? Lots of them. There's the videos. You can go to your manager. You can go to your power user. If you don't have any of those, you can reach out to us with a quick, if you have a question. But if you really need a lot of training, right, we're here to help you. I've done this with numerous customers, a 4, 6, 8, 10-hour engagement. We do a few webinars with whoever needs some training, and let's get everybody up to speed here. So you do have options for training. Hopefully this webinar helped. Utilizing the correct reports came up quite a bit. Hopefully we've addressed that one today. And then there was a handful of onesie twosies that were mentioned as far as biggest challenges. So if you have a challenge and want to talk about it, right, we're here to listen. So you can reach out to support. Hopefully they can help you or point you in the right direction. Jean, back to you. Sorry I went over.
All right. Well, thank you, Steve. Again, know that was a lot of information, so I do encourage you to visit our oil and gas webpage for additional resources, including short targeted videos on some of those specific features of the CRM for oil and gas product, the ebooks that we have available, such as 11 ways lubricant marketers use CRM to drive success, and the top 8 benefits of the CRM for oil and gas solution. Plus, don't forget to check out the LedgeView Partners blog with content that is specifically created for lubricant marketers like you. And as a reminder, today's webinar was recorded, so be sure to keep an eye on your email inbox for the on-demand version. I'd also like to remind you of our referral program. Do you know a lubricant or fuel marketer in need of a new CRM solution? With LedgeView's CRM for oil and gas referral program, if you create an introduction with a potential customer and they sign on and implement the CRM for oil and gas solution, your company will receive a $1,000 credit to your account, and the individual who created that introduction will also receive a $25 Amazon gift card as a thank you. So please do reach out to me directly to discuss any of your referrals. And finally, please do not hesitate to reach out to us directly if you have any additional questions or comments regarding the CRM for oil and gas product or any of our business and technology consulting services, again, which includes sales, customer service, and marketing. Thank you for your time today. And again, please feel free to share this with others in your organization and network. Have a great day.